Hello guys, today we're going to be tackling an interesting subject which I think has been thought about, speculated, and we just haven't known really much of what was there for the longest time. And I think that now we've got some information, right? So here, check this out. Obviously spoilers in the description, mind yourself. But if you don't care about those, Daredevil, yeah, stick with us. So Shanks' Grand Fleet, Shanks' allies, Shanks' crew, what is going on there, right? Because I think we got introduced to Whitebeard and, you know, he, in the war, like, he had his whole army, but he had, like, other captains that came to his aid. And then it sparked a question, like, is this the same for every emperor, or is this a Whitebeard thing? Obviously, Big Mom has her group. Dressrosa, Luffy got his Grand Fleet. And then finally, what was this? We saw Kaido's army, right? Made up of 20,000 strong. Got Samurai of Wano and the ninjas, make him 30,000. And so, yeah, he had an entire army as well. Right, but for Shanks, we've just not known for the longest time what is going on with his crew, right? Because we know that he has the boat, but as far as we know, that's all he has. These guys on this boat, maybe 60 people in total. But compared to other emperors, like, who have thousands of people on their side, what does Shanks have? I mean, obviously with the Nordic theme, we could, you could speculate that Shanks has some ties to Elbaf, potentially some giants on his side, but that was left to be seen. Because as far as we knew, giants don't really, no one really has a giant army, Like, people, the Marines have some giants in their group. Obviously, in the Grand Fleet, we have the new giant pirates. I don't know, the giant warrior pirates, something like that. New giant pirates. And Shanks actually, what does Shanks have? Maybe a giant or two, maybe, could be. But now we're finding out. And I'd like to just, today's video is just dedicated to talking about them and like really just thinking and speculating some information, because it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out and who we're going to see, like what kind of pirates and what this means for, Kid and his whole adventure. So I think one thing that was really big, which they were talking about in 957, I think anime was 958, was that's the ultimate, right? Ultimate. So where we get the bounties of the emperors, we get rocks, flashback history stuff. Sengoku is just talking, letting us know everything that's down. But in that, they mentioned that Shanks has some big names. Like, it's kind of like all Shanks' main guys made a name for themselves before they went to be with Shanks. Almost like Zoro and Luffy, right? Zoro had his own fame. Actually, Zoro was more famous than Luffy before he joined up with Luffy. So Shanks, in a sense, like a lot of his crew is like that. They were all, not all, but I imagine that quite a few of them were significant people before they joined up with him. And so now he's got them as well as, other people. But it seems like it's just more than his crew. It seems that even the pirates that ally with him, even though we may not know much about them, we've just like kind of seen them silhouette, kind of drawn off to the side. A lot of them actually are big names in the New World, apparently. And so it seems like now we're getting like a big, reveal of Shanks' Grand Fleet, a big reveal of who Shanks' people are. And with this reveal, I think a lot of them are going to end up being the same. A lot of them are going to be pirates with big names that joined up with Shanks' crew. So it's kind of like Shanks is gathering strong individuals, which makes sense. It's something emperors do, but, mainly it's something that Kaido did, right? However, it seems that there's going to be a difference from what Kaido did to what Shanks is doing. The main difference being that Kaido beats people into submission, while Shanks is probably more of like an admiration thing, right? Because a lot of people on the Beast Pirates were beaten into submission, and they had once had dreams, and then Kaido showed up and yeah, he beat those dreams out of them. Whereas Shanks, people probably give up their dream because of admiration that they have for someone like Shanks, right? And, with Kaido, it's more like a Moria situation with Blackbeard. Like, there's no options there. Like, Moria going to Blackbeard, it's kind of like, join us freely or we'll kill you, use your fruit to resurrect you, and then you can join us by force. That's the energy that Kaido has. But speaking of Kaido, speaking of Wano, speaking of Shanks, it's like, what does Shanks go to Wano for at this point, right? Literally, he just went to save Green Bull, because there's no way Green Bull is going to fight, Kid and Luffy and like the Straw Hat Pirates and expect to win that, right? We're talking about people who've just taken down emperors. We're talking about the land of Wano. I'm not saying it would be an easy battle for them. I don't believe that. But at the same time, Green Bull's not walking out of there. He's just not. But back to the video. Like, Shanks just went there to save Green Bull and become a taxi for Marco. Like, because he just went back to Elbaf. Well, back is maybe the wrong word. Maybe he wasn't in Elbaf, but like, it seems like he just probably left Elbaf, went there, went back to Elbaf. What's... But yeah, I think from Wano, there were no good options. Like, I think that is one thing that is certain, because now you have a situation that, like Law was pointing out to the you got 3 directions we could go. We need to go our separate ways. If we meet up again after that, that's your problem, because it's time to scrap. But like, either option number 1, Blackbeard and his captains. Option number 2, Kizaru and the Seraphim. Or option number 3, Shanks and his people, right? It's just, who do you want to fight? It'd actually be interesting to see if possibly some of the Whitebeard's commanders like joined up with Shanks afterwards. Because some of them were being hunted by Blackbeard, Weevil. Some of them probably retired. But interestingly enough, like some of them, are they just on their own, or would they join up with Shanks? Because Shanks is a lovable guy, we know that. So, I mean, maybe not like join up in the way that Whitebeard's gone, so now I believe in Shanks. But like, build that relationship with Shanks. But speaking of relationships, right? Shanks and his relationships. It's interesting because even when I was talking about, I said Shanks and his guys, but like Shanks is the chief of the Redhead Pirates. He's not the captain. Like, you can go back and check in 957. Obviously, if you watch anime, it's probably just going to translate it to captain, captain, captain. If you probably listen to the Japanese, you hear that it's a different word that they use. I mean, obviously translating Japanese is not my thing, but it's clearly a different word, so it's probably not meaning the exact same thing. But Shanks is the chief of the Redhead Pirates. He's not technically the captain of the Redhead Pirates, even though, like, you know, he's the leader, so he's technically the captain. But point of him being the chief, I think, speaks to, you know, his relationship with them. Whereas like Kaido is like the supreme commander, right, of the Beast Pirates. So that speaks to how, you know, the structure of the crew, how they relate to Kaido as the supreme commander. Whereas chief, right, because supreme commander is like an army. Right? Kaido even talks about it being a meritocracy. And so, you know, you have this idea where it's like people are more cold towards each other. They want to see each other fail so they can go up. Whereas a chief is more like, and especially in the Elbaf setting, the setting that we've seen, is more like a village, right? So now you're thinking of like a smaller group of people who have a better relationship with each other, right? Who are very close to each other. Of course, they respect each other. They respect authority, but they're more friendly. They're more, you know, let's do this thing together. Let's have fun together. So it's a very different vibe we're getting from Shanks as the chief of the Redhead Pirates to Kaido as the supreme commander of the Beast Pirates. But you know, I guess this is my question of the day. Like, following this vibe that we've gotten from Shanks, what do you guys think, like, Shanks' officers will be called? Because, of course, we have sweet generals, we have lead performers or all-stars, we have Titanic captains, we have commanders, we have sweet generals. Like, what do you think Shanks' guys are going to be called at the end of the day? Are they going to be called... Are they also just going to be called commanders? Is he going to have some niche name? Maybe is it going to be like Nordic or something like that? Is it going to be from some mythology? Is it just going to be like some plain kind of name? Like, what kind of name do you think we're going to see for them? I think that's my question of the day in terms of Shanks' crew. But actually, I have more questions. Stay tuned. But that's like the main question. Now I want to just talk a little bit more about like these allies, because this is going to be what's important, I guess. Because it seems like definitely it's becoming true, right? All pirates in the New World, you either fight the emperors or fall under them. And because the people who are fighting against emperors is more like the worst generation, it seems that all other pirates we're going to find are falling under emperors, even some of the big names. I want to see the Shanks have a giant army. Because we know that from that panel, that double spread, we've seen Dory, Broggy, Oimo, and Kashi. So there's 4 of them. But is there more? I mean, this is Elbaf we're talking about. This is the land where, you know, Big Mom wanted to have an army from. Talking about having a giant army would mean having the strongest army in the world. So I'd like to see that. Personally, and I'll save this for another video why I think so, I doubt there's going to be more than just Oimo, Kashi, Dory, and Broggy. I think possibly one more to make it 5 giants, but you know, that's for another video. That's probably going to come out a bit later. Like not that much later, but like at max a week from now, a week from this video. But it'd be interesting to see the giants fight. you know, are they any different to how they were before? Maybe, maybe not. But I'd like to see more of Shanks' allies, especially now going into allies that Kid fought. Because Kid mentioned that he didn't even see Shanks' face last time he was here. So who was he fighting? All his allies, right? These people who have big names. And that's not even a bad thing for Kid, because we're talking about people who have big names. And I think like that's a very massive thing. Obviously, like if you're talking about like one pirate who's just, you know, in the new world, it's kind of like, oh, Kid lost to them. It's kind of, at the same time, he's a rookie, so it's still impressive. But like to say that compared to Luffy, it's kind of like, okay, whatever. But like he has to fight through so many of these guys just to see Shanks' face. So obviously, if you beat one crew, it's fine. But obviously, you're tired from that. You beat another crew. You beat another crew. At some point, it becomes too many crews to just see Shanks' face. So it makes sense that he lost. But I wonder, like, how it's going to be built up. Like, who took Shanks' arm, right? And are we going to see a rematch of that? Like, get, like, some history of, like, this is the person who took my arm. And maybe they show up and it's kind of like some swordsman or something like that who sliced off his arm, or I don't know. I'm interested to see, like, how that's going to go down. But I don't blame Kid for losing, right? Because of how many people love Shanks as the chief of the Redhead Pirates. I think the last thing I want to do really quickly before I end the video is just speculate a bit more into the bounties that we may see. And I guess this is like the next part of like question of the day for the comment section. But what kind of bounties do you guys think we're going to see for some of these allies? Again, a big thing I've been mentioning is like they're well known. They've built themselves reputations. So both in terms of Shanks' crew, because I do believe that we may start to see a bit more, whether we'll get a full explanation of everyone's bounties and who they've been and what they do I don't know about that one. I think that's going to be saved for like a more fleshed out version will be saved for like what I'm going to talk about in another video. But potentially just speculating, even for that kind of future. Because I'm guessing for me, like the average bounty for probably people on Shanks' crew, whether his generals, commanders, people are his captains under him, I'd like to think 1.5 on average, right? Because Kaido had Jack with 1 billion, Queen with 1.32, I think, and then King with 1.39, right? So around 1.2, 1.3 on average. I'd like to think Shanks has 1.5 or 1.6. Ooh, maybe 1.5 or 1.4, because I think that would then be interesting, because this is the average I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like all of them will be in that range. So some may be a bit above, some may be a bit below or something like that. Because then if that's the average, then obviously you have like a lot of the warlords who are getting bounties now being higher than a lot of the commanders that we've seen thus far. So saying on average 1.5 still leaves Boa, who's at 1.69 or 1.6 something, to be higher than them. And that's just hype for the warlords. But I'm going to say 1.5. Around where Luffy was after Whole Cake Island. That's where the average is going to be for Shanks' guys. Now, for Shanks' allies, that's another story. I think that they're going to be much lower. I would guess maybe 500 to 600 million on average for their captains. Because that makes it also believable, right? If you fight one person with 500 million, that's a tough fight. Now you got to fight 3 more guys and keep going. And you haven't even seen Shanks' face yet. That's tough. But yeah, this is where I'm going to end the video. Let me know what you think. Like, what are we going to see with Shanks' allies? Like, who else or what kinds of characters, what personalities, you know, just go wild with it. Because that's what it's all about. The giant army. Are we going to see Shanks having a giant army? We've seen a ship that has like a dog kind of head and, you know, that kind of stuff. But like, who else? What else is going to be there? Because now we're finding out that Shanks not only has his one ship, but as an emperor, he has a whole fleet under him. So let me know what you think, how you feel about that. Share the video as always, guys. Comment down below. You know, what are Shanks guys going to be called since he's the chief? What are the people under him going to be called? And what do you think the average bounties would be? Like in terms of like the people under Shanks, like his fleet. And also his crew, like his top officers. What do you think we're going to see from there? Do you also expect the same thing as me? Like it's going to be beneath the warlords because we're trying to hype them up? Or do you think, you know, we're going to see some crazy bounties? Again, this is like average bounty, not like the exact bounty of everyone, because that There's no way to tell that. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.